Thanks for tuning in to more thoroughbred horse racing coverage on the Playbook Sports Horse Report with Jon Hardoon from the Sheets. How's it going, John?
Good, good.
And Mark Lawrence from PlaybookSports.com. How's it going, Mark?
Just terrific, Greg. I hope you're doing well. And John, the same to you as well.
Yes.
Thank you, sir.
This is the last show in July. So we're going to, and we have, 4 more weeks of Saratoga, right, John?
At least, yeah.
Yeah. So I think the meet ends, does it end on the 28th of August?
No. I think you got 5 weeks left of this show.
Well, that includes this week, though, right?
Yeah. It ends September 5th.
Oh, it does. Okay. All right. So before we talk about the races that we are going to handicap today, just want to quickly let everybody know, too, a couple of other races we won't be handicapping is the Bowling Green Stakes. That's a Grade 2 from Saratoga. And the Grade 2 Jim Dandy from Saratoga, which is all essential quality. You think essential quality is going to go off at like 1 to 9?
Probably 1 to 5. Last week they beat a 1 to 5. There was a 4-horse field and the 1 to 9 loss.
That's true.
They called Saratoga the graveyard of favorites for a reason.
Now, essential quality, I wanted to say this, though. Is this not one of the best sheet horses ever? I mean, just look at that line. 15, 12, 8, 8, 6, 5, 4. I mean, you can't do better than that, especially when you're winning 6 of your 7 races.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
All right, so let's start off. We've got 2 races, 1 from each track. Saratoga will start us off. Then we're going to do Del Mar. And by the way, they're both 6 furlong races, so they'll be quick. We're going to start with the race at Saratoga, and I'll pop up the sheet there on the first horse. And this is the Alfred G Vanderbilt Handicap. So this is a pretty big race here at this time of year. The one Lexingtonian, nothing to like here, though, right, John?
Yeah, just let everyone know that this is the 8th race at Saratoga on Saturday.
Yeah, and this should go off about 5 o'clock-ish Eastern time on Saturday, which is a lot better than the race we're going to do next, which you might have to set your alarm in case you fall asleep on the East Coast. But yeah, Lexingtonian, nothing to like here, right, John?
I don't like this horse, no.
Yeah, that's a quick one. Let's get rid of Lexingtonian. All right, we'll pop up, though, Mischievous Alex, and there's a lot to like about Mischievous Alex except the 2-to-1 line. You look at his sheets there as I move my head out of the way, and you can see that Mischievous Alex, those lines there, 6-8 and then 3-8. So he's got the 3 just a couple of starts ago. That was the win in the Carter 1 handicap, John. I guess the thing that if you're hoping to bet against the horse is that he is 0 for 1 at Saratoga.
Yeah, but he's 2 for 2 at the distance. You know, his last 2 races, the last race was run at a mile. The race before that was 7 furlongs. You know, his best distance is sprinting 6 furlongs. That's the case here. The problem with him is he's 2 to 1, but if he won, it would be no surprise.
Mark?
He looks to be the horse to beat here. And if you take a look, he had a 3-race win streak snapped in his last in the Metropolitan Handicap June 3rd. Saffie Joseph, Irad Ortiz, I think that's going to make this horse go off the favorite. And as John says, no value to the favorite, although he does like the distance.
Okay, now let's go on to the 3. And this is Firenze Fire, a 3-to-1 shot. And another one of the top horses in the field. And Firenze Fire, Mark, this is going to be your top play. So we'll start with you, which you can see on those sheet lines this year, 866. Ran 4 5s last year. This is a strong horse. The only thing that I would be a little bit concerned with is how often the horse wins. 14 out of 34. That's a pretty good ratio. He's only got 1 win out of 7 at Saratoga. I'd be a little bit worried about that, but this is definitely one of the horses to beat, Mark.
Well, the horse definitely has a nose for the money. He's been in the money his last 6 races, 3 of those wins. The horse also obviously loves the distance. 13 times he's been in the money, 11 of those 13 times. Jose Ortiz up on this horse here. If he does not go off, I don't believe he will. I think Mischievous Alex is going to be that guy. I'm going to like this horse. I think he'll get my money as my top play in the race.
John, this is a horse that, just like Mischievous Alex, has definitely got the goods. If you had to pick between the 2 and the 3, which would you pick, and what separates the 2 horses in your mind?
Well, Mischievous Alex is a 4-year-old, so he still has room for improvement, where Frenzy Fire is a 6-year-old. And while he is certainly capable and certainly has a license to win here, I just don't think he's quite as good this year as he was last year. Last year, he knocked out all those 5s. This year, he can't get back to those 5s. His 6 is his best that he could do. Take nothing away from him because he's a terrific horse. He really is. But I think he's vulnerable in this spot.
Yeah, and if you...
Would a 6 win this race, John?
I'm sorry?
Would a 6 win this race?
A 6 would win this race if some other horses don't show up. But Mischievous Alex, I think, is definitely running the 6, and you're going to see some other horses when we get to them that are a lot longer prices that actually are faster. This is a good sheet race, for sheet people and people that want to learn about sheets, because there's going to be a 15-to-1 shot in this race that's as good or better than anyone else. And chances are that he's probably going to react and not run well tomorrow. However, at the price, he becomes a must play. And you don't usually see 15-to-1 shots that ran the last 2 races faster than anyone else has run. And that's going to be the case with Montauk Traffic when we get to him. But
yeah, when I look at the sheets here on this horse too, Frenzy Fire, you see here over the last couple of years, not just the last year with the 5s, but even before that, he's had the 5s and he's been consistent. He's 6 years old now, and he's got 6, 6, 8. So so those are good numbers, but they're not as good and consistent as the previous 2 years, and you do wonder whether or not that's because he's 6 years old.
That's the reason why, because he is 6 years old. He was also previously trained by Jason Service, who is now suspended for life, for cheating. So those good races that he ran 2 years ago, those were under Jason Service's training.
Okay.
He's no longer trained by Service. He's trained by Kelly Breen, who's done a fine job. But again, I just think he may be losing a step. That's all.
All right, let's get to the 4, Strike Power, a 15-to-1 shot. And look, normally in a race of pretty good horses, this horse might be one of the favorites. But these are really good horses in this field. Nothing really wrong with the horse at 15-to-1. You see the 5. Unfortunately, that 5, John, after that, he hasn't been able to get back. Sort of like what happened to him when he hit the 5 in 2019. It took him a long time to get the 5 back again.
Yeah, he's 0 for 2 at Saratoga. He's only 1 for 7 at the distance. I don't think, I think you have better options in here.
Okay, let's now get to the 5 in this race, and this is 3 Technique, another 15-to-1 shot. It ran a 5, as you can see there on the board 3 races ago, but that's just about it. In the money a lot, but now is just going to be taking on much better horses.
Yeah, he's that's the whole point. He's in a grade 1 today. He's never run in a grade 1. He ran in a grade 2 last time out. Actually, last year at Saratoga, he ran in the Allen Jerkins, which was a grade 1, and he got his lunch handed to him. He got beat by 16 lengths. I don't like this horse in this spot.
All right, now let's get to Whitmore, the 6, and this is a 4-to-1 shot. And Whitmore's not going to be my top pick, Mark. I know we both like the horse within our exactas. Not my top pick, but I just always have to play. Anytime I see Whitmore, I got to play him in some capacity. I mean, this horse is just. I probably respect this horse more than any other horse that I see on a regular basis. 8 years old. Last year won the Breeders' Cup Sprint as a 7-year-old. And he kind of thought, look, 13-8 going into the Breeders' Cup Sprint as 7. You figured, it's over for Whitmore. That's it. It's done. And then all he did was go out there at 9-1 and win the race. So 5, 7, 8. I'm not gonna say, oh well, the 7 and the 8. It's too late. Forget it. No, 24 out of 26 in the money at this distance. He's going to be in my exacta, just like he's going to be in your exacta, Mark.
Well, I remember last year watching this horse in the Breeders' Cup. It was a hectic day in college football Saturday for me. I really wasn't deep into the horses, but I did like the card. See Breeders' Cup Day. I'm watching the race. I see Whitmore 18-1. I'm thinking to myself, my goodness, this horse has won over $3 million, maybe the age, and he goes and wins again. A very, very experienced horse. He's got Ricardo Santana up for the 4th race in a row. Back and you look how nice he's been in that. But you don't have to talk about the numbers for this horse. When you win $4.5 million, you're obviously a horse for the distance. I think this horse, Greg, has to be played on the ticket, not on top of the ticket.
What about Whitmore, John?
Well, he's an 8-year-old. He's certainly a neat horse. People love this horse. You know, he's got a fan club, and I just don't like him because I don't think there's any value in using him. He's going to be played because he is a fan favorite, and you know, I bet with my head, not always with my heart. So
yeah, and you did correct me there, Mark, when you said 18-1. I said 9-1 at the Breeders' Cup Sprint last year. So yeah, 18-1. Okay, let's go to Miles Ahead. That's the 7 horse. And Miles Ahead is a 12-1 shot. You can see here on the board. Let's see, 4 straight 8s, 6 before that, 1st and 2nd during that stretch. So there's a lot to like about that. 6 out of 7 at the distance with 5 wins. 50% of the time the horse wins, John. I know you don't like taking horses, though. I've kind of noticed that anytime a horse just runs those same numbers.
The flat line.
The flat line. You avoid those horses, right. But still, 12-1, that's the thing that's good about the horse.
Yeah, he also gets a barn switch today. He's going first time for George Arnold away from Edward Pleza, who's a terrific trainer. Arnold is an old-time trainer. He's fine, but it is a barn switch. I don't know if it's a positive barn switch. At best, it's a neutral barn switch. Listen, if he's a price, you could certainly throw him in, but again, he's like other horses in the race.
Yeah, I mean, I might just throw it into my exacta because of the number. That's why. That's all.
Right.
Okay.
John, let me ask you this question. You mentioned about a flat line on this horse. You know, his last 4 races all the same, similar. Does it matter if that flat line are good numbers? You know, if those 4 numbers were 6s, would that change your opinion?
No, because, well, first of all, it would depend on what you needed to win the race. If you needed a 6 to win the race and he was running consistent 6s, okay, I could buy it. But it's not a good sign when a horse doesn't improve when they stay the same. That's the best they're going to do. They're not going to all of a sudden jump up and run a big race. It doesn't happen, you know, and especially, well, the good thing about him is I guess he's a 4-year-old, so he is eligible to pop and make that big move, but he hasn't done it. And he's had 4 chances to do it already. So I would have liked to see it. That's all.
Gotcha.
All right. Now let's move on to horse number 8. This is the horse that John was talking about. And as soon as I saw, it's interesting because I was looking at the sheet numbers there. And before I even looked at the odds, to tell you the truth, I just wasn't even paying attention. I was going, wow. I mean, because anytime when I look at these races every week, that's the first thing I do is look at the sheets. Looking at the sheets, I want to find out which races look like they're best, and then if I like the sheets, then I move over to the form. So I saw the 4s on Montauk Traffic, and I was like, wow, this horse is going to be one of my favorites. This is a really good horse. So I come over on the form and I see 15-1, and I go, holy crap! And then I'm trying to figure out, oh, he's been in claimers. That's why. And I just knew this was going to be one of your top horses, John, because it has to be one of your top horses. This is the epitome of what the sheets are all about.
There's only one problem. There's a big problem. The problem is that he's running close to his last 4. If you look at the time between races, his last 2, then he took off a couple of months and came back and ran the 4. Now he's coming back on a short leg.
Yep.
And where is he going off the 4? He's not going to run a 2. Let's be honest. He's going to react. There's no question he's going to react. But at 15-1, if he happens to run either one of his last 2 races, he's going to win this race because no one else is running a 4 in here. So at 50, you always take a price. If the horse was 5-1, I would play against him. But if he's anywhere near the 15-1, if he's 8-1 or 10-1, anything like that, you have to go down with this horse. Win, lose, or draw. Listen, he's the longest shot in the race, and he's one of the longest shots in the race, and he ran the last 2 fastest races. Not only that, but the last time he won, that race was so good. The track was favoring speed. It was a conveyor belt. Whoever made the lead that day won. Every other race except the race that this horse was in. He came from the clouds. So that 4 is really a real 4. I mean, this is a real horse. Hopefully he's really this good now, and I'm willing to pay the price to find out. If I get anywhere near 10-1, I'm running to the window.
And you would think you're going
John, let me ask you one more question about this horse. Can I jump in here real quick?
Yeah, sure.
Sorry, Greg. I know you say, and I love your line, that horses can't read racing forms.
Right.
And you look at the horse here, and he's only one graded stakes race. That was the Gotham of grade 3. Everything else has been a claiming race. Is that the reason this horse is 15-1?
Yeah, they think he's too cheap. They said he's never run against graded stakes horses, and but guess what? He's a 4-year-old. He has a license to get better. It's not like he's 7 years old and all of a sudden ran 2 4s. He's a 4-year-old who ran 2 4s.
So he's the epitome of the sheets, of what you're looking for in the sheets.
Yes, but I just wish he had a little more time but since his last race. That's the only concern I have.
I got you.
But I'm willing to pay for that. Listen, you pay the piper. If you're getting a price, you got to go down. Even if you think you're going to lose, you have to bet this horse.
All right, and then let's wrap it up with the last horse in the race, and this is going to be my top pick, and this is Special Reserve, a 9-2 shot. One of the things I really like, actually, is I like the combo of Maker and Rosario, especially Michael Maker's having a hell of a meet so far. But here you got a horse who's run back-to-back 7s, both wins. He's got 3 7s this year in total, so doing a lot better this year than any other time in his career as a 5-year-old. Look, the horse does well at this distance. He's a solid horse. He's going up against horses that are a little bit better, a little bit faster. But like I said, I'm getting a horse about 5-1 with a good combo of Maker and Rosario. Never raced at Saratoga. Maybe Michael Maker, he can sprinkle some of that Saratoga magic on Special Reserve, John.
Well, he's certainly doing terrific at the meet, Mike Maker. I think he had another 2 winners yesterday. But you just said it yourself. You said that this horse ran 2 7s in his last 2 races, and you're getting 5-1. Well, why the hell would you bet him before you bet the 8 who ran 2 4s and he's 15-1?
Oh, sure.
Makes no sense.
That's why that horse is going in my exacta.
Okay, but I'm giving you your own argument. Why are you keying a horse that's 5-1 that ran 3 points slower than a horse that's 15-1? Makes no sense. I respect your opinion and what you want to do, but I'm giving you back your own argument. If you want to bet a horse that ran 2 7s, that's 5-1. Well, then certainly you should want to bet a horse that's 15-1 that ran 2 4s.
Mark?
The numbers aside, okay, the numbers aside, and I get John's case completely here. I see the horse looking at the form. I see a horse that's coming off a bullet work 5 days ago. He's got Rosario up for the first time. Mike Maker is a nice trainer. He's a good meet there, as you mentioned, and he's great at the distance. 9 out of 11 for the distance. At 9-2, the opening odds. If this horse goes off 5-1 or better, I have to have him on mine. I'm not saying I'm going to place this horse to win. I'm just saying there's a lot of nice things about this horse. Maybe not the value that the Montauk horse is, but at least he's bringing some pedigree and numbers into this race.
He's fine. By the way, the bullet that he worked 5 days ago was at some training center that had 5 horses work the entire day. So you have no idea who the 5 horses were that worked.
I've got you.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
It's not
like all week against 50 horses at Saratoga, right?
At a real track.
Right.
He worked it at some training center somewhere. So.
Right.
All right. So there's our picks for the race 8 at Saratoga, the Alfred G Vanderbilt Handicap. And also John is going to add in 2, 3, and 9 with the 8, Montauk Traffic. Mark is going to add in the 9 and the 6 with his top pick, Forenzi Fire. And I'm going to add in the 6, 7, and 8 with the 9, Special Reserve. All right, let's now move on to the race at Del Mar. And
The Bing Crosby.
The Bing Crosby. Yes, this is a pretty big race over in Del Mar. And we are going to start, and again, also 6 furlongs. So again, another quick race. This is a Breeders' Cup Challenge race. So you win and you're in. We'll start with the 1, Shooters Shoot. And Shooters Shoot is a 15-1 shot that hasn't shown much, John.
Well, he's an improving 4-year-old. He's getting better with each start. The only problem is the best he's ever run is an 11 last time out, and you're gonna probably need a 4 to win this race. So unless he has a dramatic improvement of 7 points, which is highly unlikely, I don't give him much of a chance.
Yeah, what you would have liked to have seen is the last race a 9, and then you're going, wait a second, okay. Because 19, 13, all right, 17 back, but 11, and maybe another forward move. But the 11 and the 11, yeah, 15-1. And he's got the 1 position, which is not always great. But still, 15-1. So, all right, let's move on to the number 2 horse in the field, and this is Vertical Threat. And Vertical Threat at 8-1 is going to be Mark's top play in the race. 3 7s in the last 4 races. Now, interesting enough, those 3 7s were the only 3 races that this horse has run at 6 furlongs, which is this distance. So you got to like that. Plus 1 for 1 at Del Mar, Mark.
Like you say, Greg, he nicely fits the distance here, especially with the good numbers that he put those up at. You got Joe Bravo up for the first time in the horse. Very lightly races those 3 wins out of those 5 to complete that. He's been off since November. But he's got 3 bullet works in his last 9. One of them here 2 weeks at this price, 8-1. I think this horse is sitting in a big race. I have him on top of my ticket in this race.
Yeah, 8-1, John. There's nothing. That's good. You want the horse at 8-1. Anything lower than that, you're a little bit concerned. But this is an interesting horse at 8-1.
Yeah, my only concern is that he'll be racing without Lasix for the first time, so that's always somewhat of a concern. The good news is that he does have a 7 at Del Mar last year. He's a 4-year-old. He's eligible to improve, but he will have to improve to beat this field.
All right, now let's get to the next horse in the field. This is the 3rd horse. This is John's top play at 5-2, CZ Rocket. And every once in a while, John will go with a heavy favorite, and I can see why. You've got last year, as you can see there on the board, you got the 5, the 4, the 3. You got the 2 4s this year, coming off an 8 last time, but this horse usually doesn't have 2 bad races in a row. Won the only race he's ever raced before at Del Mar. So you're going to go ahead and put it all on CZ Rocket.
Well, it's not like he's a big favorite. He's 5-2. You have a couple of 7-2 shots in the race. It's not like he's 3-5. But that being said, I think he's very strong. The 8 that he ran last time was a distance race, out Lone Star in the slop. You could throw that race out because all his sprint numbers last year, 5, 6, 4, 3, they're all good enough. He has a 4 at Del Mar where he won last year. And this year he came out and ran 2 4s. And then in his last race where he happened to have lost a shoe besides everything else, it was a distance race and it was a slop race. 2 things he's not getting tomorrow. He's not getting slop in Del Mar, and he's running a sprint race where he does his best. No one else in this race, with the exception of the bottom horse, has ever run a 4. This horse runs them consistently. He never runs a bad race. I think he's going to be very tough to beat.
Okay, next up is the 4, and this is going to be Law Abiding Citizen, a 12-1 shot, who's had some better moments in previous seasons, but so far this season, John, we've only seen a 12 and an 11, 1 on turf, 1 on the dirt. Finished 3rd in this race last year, but again, we haven't really seen much from him so far this year.
No, as a 7-year-old, he obviously lost a step. Last year, he had a couple of 7s and a 6. This year, only able to get to the 11. I don't like him in this spot.
Yeah, and also, this is the first of 3 Mark Glatt trained horses in the field. Let's go with the 5, Quick Tempo, another 12-1 shot. And let's see, Quick Tempo, you're taking a look here, nothing to like, because just like we were talking about with the 1, you've got a couple of 11s, and that's really all you have with Quick Tempo, John.
Yeah, he's kind of slow. You're going to have to run a single digit. Let's put it that way.
Okay, next up is the 6, Collusion Illusion, as we start getting to some of these other horses that are more of the contenders in the field. And Collusion Illusion is the defending champ of the race. Won this race last year, ran a 9, 4-1 shot. What's interesting about a couple of things. First of all, you got to like 4 out of 5 at the distance with 3 wins. Won all 3 races at Del Mar. And when you just take a look at Del Mar, 3 races at Del Mar, 16, then raced an 11, won both of those races, then raced a 9. That was the Bing Crosby, won that race. So he's actually going on a nice little sheet line forward every time he hits Del Mar and every time he wins. So this is not a bad idea. The only thing is we haven't seen this horse since December.
And he's going to have to run better than the 7 to win this race. He's 4-1. It's not that long a price. He's coming off of a layoff. Mark's horse, the 2, Vertical Threat, I think is stronger, honestly, than Collusion Illusion, and he's twice the price. He's got the same 7s that Collusion Illusion has. The only difference is he's 8-1. So I would use Mark's Vertical Threat, I guess, before I would use this horse, maybe. I don't know.
Hey, John, this horse started out as a wonder horse. If you look at his career, he was 5 his first 5 races, and then something hit the fan. The horse hasn't been right since. I noticed they're making a rider change, and Tyler Bays is up and Prot around the 8 horse in this particular race. Is the trainer grasping, looking to get that magic back with this jockey change?
No, because Pratt rides his other
or
horse.
Was taken away by, but Pratt's off this horse is my contention.
Yeah, well, Pratt had a choice. He could have ridden the 8, Dr. Shivel, or the 6, Collusion Illusion. It's the same trainer. Mark Latt trains both horses. So Pratt obviously had the choice, and he opted for Dr. Shivel. So what that's telling me is that the jockey thinks that the 8 is better than the 6. Because he had
That's my point.
Yeah.
All right.
Right.
So
That's my point.
The trainer made the move. It's more that I think the jockey made the move.
I've got you.
Okay, now let's get to the 7, and this is 8 rings, a 10-1 shot. Let's take a look at 8 rings there. You see, this is the horse. This is the Baffert horse. So we haven't really talked about a Baffert horse in a while because we haven't really been talking a lot about Del Mar, California. So Baffert, and this is a horse that there was a lot of expectations on early on in 8 Rings' career. Came out of the gate. First race won a maiden. Then next race, just put a line through that. And then
he threw the rider that
third race, American Pharaoh, grade 1, won the race. So there's a lot. Everything is like looking good for this horse. And I'm assuming they're looking at this horse as a Triple Crown kind of horse. But then 6th in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile, and this horse just hasn't really responded since.
No, he's terrible. He's obviously not a healthy horse. He had 2 races all of last year. He came back this year, has 1 race, and then took another 2 months off. You can't like this horse. The only good news about this horse is that he ran a 9 first out of his life at Del Mar. So he's eligible to run that big race. But there's nothing that indicates that he's ready to run that race. Baffert or no Baffert, I don't like this horse at all.
Okay, let's go now to the 8. And this is going to be Dr. Shivel, my top choice in the race. As John mentioned, Pratt is going to be on board this horse. You take a look at the sheets here. The 222s, so we don't really care about that. We'd like the response with the 7 at Del Mar. That was the maiden win. Then came right back after that and won a grade 1 race, running an 11. First race this year, run a 7. So I like the fact that the horse hadn't raced in September, came out in June with a completely different trainer and ran a 7. 2 for 2 at Del Mar, 2 for 2 at this distance. I'm getting close to 4-1, so that's why this is my top pick, John.
He's fine. I mean, he's eligible to improve in his second start back off of a layoff. He has a 7 as a 2-year-old at Del Mar, which is very strong. There's no knocks on this horse. But again, he's yet to run the 4s that the 3 horses run. So,
Mark?
What?
He's also 2 for 2 with Pratt, so you got a lot of 2 for 2s working for you here, Greg, in this race.
Yeah.
He won the Grade 1 Del Mar Futurity.
He's 2 for
Won 3 races in a row, yes.
right. 2, yeah, okay. They're all
So,
And he ran
he
ran 22 twice in the first 2 on the sheets.
right.
So he's destined to finish second, Greg. 2 for 2 for 2 for 2.
And it'll probably be 2 to 1 tomorrow. So
yeah, that won't be good. I won't like him at 2 to 1, that's for sure. All right. And then the final horse in the field is another good horse to keep an eye on, the number 9, and that is Brickyard Ride. See the sheets there. Brickyard Ride with 3 4s already this year. So you got to like this horse. 7 to 2 shot, 50% of the time wins. The only thing I'd be a little bit concerned with, which I'm really not, is the 0 for 2 at Del Mar, because those were just, way, way long ago. So I don't really care about that. But the 3 4s in the last 5 races, John.
yeah, he's good. I mean, there's nothing wrong with this horse, and he has time since the last 4, and he's speed from the outside. So, he's going to get a good trip in here. And he's along with CZ Rocket. This would be the other horse, as the main contenders in the race. And I gave the slight edge to CZ Rocket because he just does it more often than Brickyard Ride does.
Mark?
I think the horse is a factor in the race. Juan Hernandez up again. He was on him the last time. He wins. The horse loves the distance, 7 out of 8 in the money. Nothing wrong, and no knocks on the horse at all. It's just whether or not his numbers are there.
All right, now you see our picks of the week for Del Mar. Again, John's going to go with CZ Rocket. Mark is going to go with Vertical Threat. I'm going to go with Dr. Shivel. And John also, your other 2 horses, John, are the 6 and the 7. Excuse me, the 6 and the 9.
Yeah, Exact is underneath the 3.
And Mark likes the 8 and the 9.
Hey guys, one trivia fact here about this particular race. And I'm a huge lover of music. I just love music. I write it into everything that I write. I blend it in. And it just so happens to be that the number 1 all-time best-selling song was White Christmas by Bing Crosby. This is the Bing Crosby race. My tip of the hat to him. Number 1 all-time best-selling song. Whatever that's worth.
Okay.
All
right, John. Appreciate it.
All right, guys. Next Friday.
Yes.
Talk to you soon.
We'll talk to
Stay
you next
safe,
week.
everybody. Thank you.
May the horse be with you guys. Thank you.
Be well.
And I'm going to quickly, as John exits, before I close the show, I just want to take a look at the schedule, Mark. Let's see here. Next week, we have got, by the way, and I mentioned this last week, and I should have said this in the beginning of the show. Remember, there's some really good races on Sunday. You've got the Grade 1 Clement L. Hirsch. So that's another Breeders' Cup race. So that challenge race. So that is going to be on Sunday at Del Mar. So check that out. You definitely want to buy some sheets for Sunday's card. And Saratoga's got the Grade 2 Amsterdam. But then next week, we've got some really good races. You've got the 2 Grade 2 races at Del Mar. But then you have 3 Grade 1 races at Saratoga. The Whitney, which is a Breeders' Cup Challenge race, the Saratoga Derby, and the Test. So we have some really good, this is the time of year at Saratoga, Mark, where every week you got those Grade 1 races, and next week it's the Whitney. So, yep. Should be a lot of fun. All right, we'll talk about it next week, and hopefully we'll have some winning races to talk about as well. For Jon Hardoon, Mark Lawrence, and Greg DePalma, we'll see you next time.